Exactly. All right, let's move on down the list. So there's first 6 quarterbacks taken. In the rest of the draft, there was only, I believe, 5 more quarterbacks taken. And in
I
fact,
think you're right.
it was the biggest gap in the history of the draft, if I'm not mistaken,
I think you're
where
right on that too. Yeah.
because the last one in the first round was Bo Nix at 12, and then the next pick was like Spencer Rattler at 150 or something like that.
Something like that. Yep.
And it was just like, ooh. So first of all, before we even get into these guys, is that gap for real?
I don't think so personally.
Yeah.
I think Rattler's better than the 150 some odd best player in the draft. It's coming out that a lot of people, and I think this is unfortunate, a lot of people were scared away by that. If you watched it on Netflix, that QB1, his high school video, the stuff from high school there, which, yeah, he was a dirtbag while he was there and at Oklahoma. But if you saw the progression at South Carolina, saw him mature, saw him become a leader in a lot of aspects, where you're not getting the same kid you saw in that TV series.
Look, and real quick, let's dispel this myth that he's just this locker room problem and everything. I was one of the first, not one of the first people, but I was one of the loudest voices in the room saying this guy is a spoiled brat. He's a kid. He ain't going to do it, blah, blah, blah. This man got humbled to the nth degree. A literal no-name who's now just been picked number 1 overall, came in and took his spot. And not only that he took his spot, but he took it in the biggest game of that school's year.
Yeah.
And dominated and won that game and then never looked back. And Anthony will tell you this, living in Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler, when he first came to Oklahoma, was a god. He was the second coming. Everybody looked at him like he was the greatest thing, since sliced bread. And to watch that drop, to watch him fall and then go to South Carolina, who, shout out to our guy Will, but South Carolina is they haven't been great in a long time. And not a long time. Jadeveon Clowney was
early 2010s. He got drafted in 2014, yeah.
Yeah, and they've had Marshawn Lattimore. They've had a couple guys that have been, pretty
Stephon
legit.
Gilmore, Alshon Jeffrey.
Right. But as far as team success, that hasn't necessarily panned out. And the way that he was able to work in that system, to be at South Carolina against all those powers, he was there in the second half, the Georgia reign, Alabama, LSU, these guys, all that. For him to be there and just you watch him mature and evolve. We got to stop crucifying guys for what they did in the past and not give them the opportunity to grow. Because I think he truly has grown. And now you want to talk about getting humbled. At one point, they said he was one of these top tier picks, when he first came out.
A lot of people, when he came out, was he's the number 1 pick. He's going to win multiple Heismans. He's going to, Oklahoma's winning a national championship, if not 2. And look, you're the 150th pick.
So you got being humbled from from being the man to then being the backup to then going to another school, a smaller school, at least when it comes to football, and then not getting picked to 150th. You want to talk about a chip? The chip the size of Mount Everest on his shoulder? Yeah, my man. That's somebody I want to look to. I think I joke about it with Will, but I think Spencer Rattler might surprise some people, especially because I'm not sold on the Saints quarterbacks.
No, me neither. And if you want to see that progression in Spencer Rattler, you don't have to look further than the Georgia game this year.
Yes.
Where he had no offensive line. He's duking it out with the Bulldogs and going toe-to-toe in the first half, and then it starts to come off the rails in the second half. And he doesn't pout. He doesn't get upset, doesn't get frustrated. He's still going when the defense is on the field, going and trying to get the offensive line ready to go and get the weapons ready to go. And he's talking to all his guys and, come on, let's keep going. Let's keep fighting. That's what you want in that franchise quarterback. That's your leader.
Yep.
And the young Spencer Rattler, the high school kid, the first 2 years at Oklahoma, would not have done that.
No.
Mm-hmm. But this is a guy that's matured over the last 5 years, going from that high school video to this. and shown you that he can be that leader. So if you don't like what you got in Derek Carr, that's a kid that's shown at times he can ball. Right. So he might not be that far down the depth chart.
Come on now. Watch out for him. Watch out for him. So he was picked there in the 5th. Another quarterback that was picked in the 5th was Jordan Travis to the Jets. Kind of really like I'm about to say, I really like that because now he could sit, learn, get healthy, learn from one of the greatest of this time. And I don't want to speak too soon about this, but could we potentially have the Packers situation in New York now? You know, where Aaron Rodgers gives you a year or two, then Jordan Travis gets healthy, and maybe he can take the mantle. Like, I'm hyped for this one.
I think this is a phenomenal pick to get him at the end of the 5th round there, and you've got maybe 2 years of Rodgers if we're lucky. I think so. You get at least a year, maybe 2, for Jordan Travis to sit there, learn. If I'm Jordan Travis, I am watching every little thing that Aaron Rodgers does to the T, trying to learn from him. And when he eventually walks off into the sunset, then Jordan Travis can step into, if they give him the shot to start. You've got Breece Hall, you've got Garrett Wilson, you've got Mike Williams, you've got a boatload of weapons around you, a now good offensive line. Hopefully by then, Fashanu has developed into that left tackle they want him to be. And what that defense is on the other side, Jordan Travis could be walking into a dream scenario there.
Come on. Yes. And I'm hyped for him because obviously you hate how his college career ended, you know, not getting an opportunity to play because of the injury, not, you know, obviously that totally derailed Florida State's season and then just wasn't able to end things the way he wanted to. So to have this situation where it's kind of like, it's almost, I hate to say this, but it's almost better that he got hurt because if he would have been one of those top 7 picks, I don't think he would have gone up in the top 3 or 4. I think he goes a little, maybe still in the 1st round, but you don't know where he's going to land. Now in this situation, he is, like you said, in a dream spot where he can just sit there. He does not have to worry about hurrying up and getting on the field and them having it because there's already a guy there. And so he can just be, hey, I'm just, like you said, a sponge. Just soak that stuff up. I love that. I love that one. Let me see. What did I miss? What's the topic? Oh, talking about the other quarterbacks that were drafted. We talked about Spencer Rattler, Jordan Travis. 6th round, we had Joe Milton from Tennessee and Devin Leary come out. He went to Baltimore. And then Michael Pratt goes to Green Bay. So this is the 6th round, the 7th round. You've had we know the issues you've had with Joe Milton. I liked Devin Leary when he was at NC State. Then when he transferred, didn't really go. We both had liked Michael Pratt.
I think that's a phenomenal pick.
Right? Is that the next one? Is that the Green Bay quarterback trend? Keep going.
It might be. It's a little young for Pratt to sit there and wait. Jordan Love, if he's anything like he was this past year, Jordan Love's going to be that guy for a long time. So, but having Pratt as your backup, he's another guy that can sit there, learn, and he's that kind of that emergency in case of emergency, break the glass, and he's your guy. Yep. I feel like that's a pretty good situation. Milton, we shouldn't see on the field. I think he's another guy that could be a solid backup if you let him develop, learn how to read a defense, and go from there. Leary to Baltimore was a little. It was questionable for me.
A stretch.
He's not. It's just. Guy. It's a completely different style of quarterback than what they have.
That's what I'm saying. So,
like, if God forbid Lamar gets hurt and he's got to go in, you've got to completely change the offense.
Exactly.
To me, just it doesn't make sense. And I kind of agree with Nathan here. Talia would have been a great fit in that offense. And honestly, a guy like Joe Milton probably would have been pretty good in that Baltimore offense too.
Exactly right. Come on.
Now he was off the board, but
it just seemed like they just picked. There's a quarterback there, so let's pick him. Like that's not it. you hit the nail on the head as far as play style, because at least when you had a Huntley behind, or even McSorley when he was here, they could still have that. Right. So you're not changing things up. But yeah, Leary for me, even a guy that might be potentially coming out next year, the Riley Leonard that transferred to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
He's more of that kind of, dual threat, he has mobility, all that. Leary, no. That to me, but again, this is the 6th round. So
yeah,
we're not expecting much from him. But I mean, I guess this is the best available. Nate, you know better than we do. What? Lamar Goff?
I can't do it. Goff just got us to the NFC title game. I can't. I gotta ride with my guy.
Right. Wait a minute. They both got to the NFC championship games.
I was gonna say, for both sides, it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. No, you gotta stick with it, man. He said, I promise that was a John Harbaugh pick. Well,
see, I actually think it was a Todd Monken pick. You look at the quarterbacks he had at Georgia.
Yes.
Leary's very similar to all those kind of guys.
Yeah. And you look at that championship game where they 86% of the play calls were pass. They passed the ball all the time in that game, which totally takes your best weapon out, which is Lamar and his legs, man. So maybe that's the direction they're going. I would hate not to, but shout out to our guy Nathan, who has told me he thinks that window for them is closing. So I hope
closing. I can agree with. It's nowhere near closed, but it's shrinking.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.